Wow, here they come.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you could please all mute your microphones as you come in, that would be greatly appreciated.
That's what he said. Andrew, quick. Yeah. All right. Don't ask me. Well, he said Andrew failed on him. That was terminology.
Have received 2 doses. With a lot of it.
It's so much fun to see all the names just pop up. I love this. Hi, everybody who's early. Looking forward to getting to know you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. If you could all please mute yourselves as you come into the webinar, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
I see Barbara Barron. Hi, Barbara Barron, wherever you are. She's one of my colleagues that just joined.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just 1 minute. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew. I'm on Institute staff. We also have Isabel Stone here on Institute staff, who's helping run the show. Welcome to our webinar. This webinar is titled Energized Virtual Meetings, No More Z's with Joyce Weiss, MA, CSP. Joyce has taught many Institute classes. She holds a master's degree in counseling, and she's an adjunct professor at Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan. Joyce is one of only 215 women in the world who has earned the Certified Speaking Professional credential from the International Federation for Professional Speakers. She coaches her clients to reduce drama at work by kicking conflict to the curb to get the respect they deserve. During the webinar, our guest trainer will help us keep our team and customers engaged on video meetings and calls. This is the 3rd webinar in our winter series. You can find a full schedule of upcoming webinars on our website on the webinars page under the curriculum tab. Joyce will be referencing a handout that can be found on that page, and we'll drop the link in chat right now. Please go ahead and mute yourself if you're not already muted. You can ask a question using the raise hand button located at the top of the screen next to the chat button. When you raise your hand, the symbol will be white and be underlined with purple. The host will call on you, or Isabel or myself will call on you and ask you to unmute yourself before speaking with the presenter. To lower your hand, click the button again. Right now, I'll turn it over to Joyce. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And so I think most people have muted, which is great. And I want to thank you for that introduction and for inviting me here. And yeah, if everybody could make sure and mute themselves, please, that would be a good way. Then we could all hear each other. So I would like everybody to please close your eyes for a moment. And I'm going to take you on a little fantasy. I want you to imagine your next online presentation that you're in charge of. It's going to be so much fun to plan. Your participants are looking at you with smiles. They're engaged. They're asking great questions and they're taking copious notes. Where the emphasis is on your participants and you're not even thinking about yourself. Am I going to do well? Is the internet going to go down? It's all going well. So my hope today is to take your online training from wherever you are, whether it's beginning, middle, or even advanced, and just take it up a notch or two. So if you like this fantasy, could you please stand up and do a happy dance? And I'm serious. I am so serious. This is about engagement. And everybody, I'm going to do it. Stand up and do a happy dance if you like this imagination. So I see a few of you standing, which is good. Hey, this is all about engagement. And I'm going to let you know that some of the things we do here, if everybody could mute, please, it's, I know, thank you. It's very important to let you know that some of these things are going to be so silly. And if you're a really serious person, you may say, that's not what I'm going to do. Well, we don't know each other. I talk about very serious things, conflict, kicking conflict to the curb, as Andrew already said. So if I don't add some levity to it, life gets pretty exhausting. So I'm going to be sharing things with you today that are, some of them so silly, some of them you're going to say, oh my God, I love that. And we're going to get a chance to hear what's going on and what kind of things you love and all these questions that I'm hoping that I'm going to be gathering in your brain to ask. So let's face it, most of the time, many of the times the camera's off, people are so bored by the speaker, they're in a coma, they're out of sight, they're free to wander. And if you ask a question to someone, and especially if somebody isn't engaged because it's boring, they may say, oh, I was just caught off guard. I was multitasking. Or they may say, I'm not sure I understand. And a colleague of mine just told me this happened to her 2 weeks ago. She called on someone. She had a roster of everybody. And the lady got on and said, I don't think I understand the question. I was just shampooing my cat. And that's not a joke. That just happened. So there's so many reasons why we have to do what we can to get people to turn on their cameras. And I know some of you right now, you're multitasking. And I'm not saying that you just have to do everything that I'm saying. I'm talking about for you when you do your classes or your meetings, all the things that we're going to be discussing today may, no promise, but may help you get more people off of their camera. So when I start a meeting in the past, I usually just start with a story or with a statistic. This time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a statistic with you, but I want you to guess the number. In the chat would be great. In the chat would be great. And then I'm going to share 5 rules with you that I think you're just going to love, and they are in your handouts. So here comes with the first statistic. 200 attendees of a face-to-face meeting were compared with 200 people on an online meeting. And when the following rule, the rules that I'm going to be sharing with you right after this statistic discussion, when these 5 rules were followed by the people who gave online meetings, what percent do you think the online participants reported with a higher level of engagement, just as high as in a face-to-face, when these next 5 rules were done? So what percentage of the people on the online said, oh, I was just as engaged? And if you could please write that down, or if you want to say it, that would be great. What percent? 80%, 10%. These are great. 80%. Wow. 20%, 30. Oh, this is, thank you guys. 80. Well, you're using the chat. I guess we don't have to teach you how to do that. That's awesome. 75%. So let me tell you, drum rolls. 86%. 86% of the people who took online classes, when the following rules were followed, the engagement was just as good as face-to-face. So I think, yeah, that is, wow. I agree with you. So now comes a learning moment. I hope we're going to have a lot of them. We better. That's the point of today, is that usually when like I said before, I'll start off with some kind of a story, a statistic. Now I'm going to be giving you some rules that, Isabel, if you can put them on they're on the handouts, that would be great. And this time, when we talk about these rules, when all 5 are done, thank you. When all 5, when I've read all 5, I want you to write down on a piece of paper which one just spoke out. Yeah, for sure, a piece of paper. And then you could do it in the chat too. Which one of these rules really speaks to you? So, rule number 1, that's perfect, Isabel. Rule number 1, the 60-second rule. Use a statistic or story to let participants understand the content immediately. Oh, this is so easy to do. You know, you go online, you ask your colleagues, do you know of a good statistic about whatever your topic is? When mine is on conflict, I always bring up a statistic of how much money and time is wasted when leaders don't know how to cut to the chase with conflict, and people love that. So the responsibility rule and the nowhere to hide rule are really tied in together. The responsibility rule is you set the tone, the participants are not observers, and the session will be participatory. I don't care how many times I say to people, I want this to be a conversation and not a presentation. We've all had people tell us this. Well, if someone wants to be on their camera, they don't want to be on the camera. They're multitasking, or who knows what the situation is. You can't force it. I can't force anybody here. You're in charge of your own meeting, your own comfort zone. The responsibility rule, why this is tied into the next one, is because when you let people know that there are going to be breakout rooms and discussions, and after I get to the energizers, that we're going to see your face on the screen, you may get more people. You may get more people to join you. Now, the fourth rule is the PowerPoint no overload rule. I want everybody I'm serious. Unmute yourself. You're going to kill me, Isabel and Andrew, but unmute yourself for those of you that want to. And I want you to say, no, Joyce, no.
No choice.
No,
No.
Joyce.
No,
No.
Joyce, no.
No, Joyce.
Okay.
No, Joyce.
Oh my God. Okay, mute yourself. I get it. I don't like rejection. So thank you for saying that. So why I had you say no, Joyce, no. For those of you who use a lot of PowerPoint, that is putting your people to sleep. If it's a webinar, today's a webinar. I've got I don't have a PowerPoint, but I have my notes. If it was a different situation with a smaller group, I would be on the screen more. But I'm telling you right now, people, and I'm not screaming on you, so don't take it personal if this is you. It used to be me. I hid behind my PowerPoint. What people want is they want to be engaged. They want the content, but they also want it to be interesting. They want to see and hear us. So we have to mix facts, stories, and use minimal slides unless it's a webinar. And the last one, and I want you now to unmute yourself since you did such a good job. And I want you to say, are you kidding me? Unmute yourself and say, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Kidding me?
Okay, I get it. No, I'm not kidding you. And let me tell you about the 4-minute rule. And this is the one that everybody says to me at the end. Oh my God, I didn't know this. This was so good. So never go longer than 4 minutes without giving the group an activity. You're going to see, I'm going to have you stand up. Some of you will, some of you won't. I'm not here to yell. I'm not here to say you got to do it. We're all adults. When we mix up and put in chats, people stand up, the energizers, which I'm going to get to you, and revisiting and all the things I'm going to cover today, every 4 minutes to start thinking about what can you do to engage them. Engaging is even what I just had you do with unmuting yourself, writing in the chat, but I've got more exciting things than that. So I am going to stop for a moment. I want you to please take a look. And by the way, Isabel put in the handouts in the chat. They're there for you if you want them. Not if you want them, of course you want them, because you're going to share with your team. I want you to please look at all 5 rules. Which one speaks to you? Put that on a piece of paper, and you could even put, some of you can put them in the chat, and let's see which one is the most popular one. The 4-minute rule, someone just write 4. The 4-minute rule, number 4, number 5. Yeah, the 4-minute rule. Clever, they said number 5, you made me look. Oh my God, does it look like it's, you're kidding. Wow. The responsibility rule, yeah, see, I love all of them. I guess that's why I share them. The responsibility rule, number 4, which is the no, oh yeah. The PowerPoint you're gonna love. And this is something else, while some of these are coming in, and this is great, is that, yeah, sure, you could still use your PowerPoint, just don't use as many. Just make sure every 4 minutes, I was just gonna say every 4 hours. 2 and 3 are a great tool. This is great. Thank you. So everybody, for the slow kid, where can I find out the work? So Isabel, could you please make sure that you pull up the screen where slow kid, that was what this person said, not me, could get the handouts. That would be great. Yes. Okay, then somebody just said, just don't read directly from the PowerPoint. Thank you very much. Absolutely. That's another good rule that I didn't put down. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to start today. Isabel, if you could put down the next part, yes, which your agenda, everyone, hopefully you'll have an agenda. Today we're going to cover blah, blah, blah. Well, I suggest, since this is engagement, for you to go on either Canva, if you don't know canva.com, that's where I created this particular graphic. Go anywhere you want. I call this the window pane, and we're going to be visiting it a lot because the window pane is your agenda, but it's a little more exciting because there are fill in the blanks, and you're going to see that today is about fill in the blanks. That's about engagement, just not having everybody read or listen to my same voice over and over. You get to write down, and it just works out better. So I'm told from my participants. So today we're going to cover openers, revisitors, energizers, and closers. And we're going to come back to this window pane because there's an absolute science that people are going to remember your information. Oh, the slow kid got it. Thanks. PF, whoever you are. I love your honesty. And then we're going to do closers. So each one has a fill in the blank. So for openers, never be boring. Never be boring. This is one of the most important things. So we've all attended boring meetings. I'm going to ask you, and the first person who raises her or his hand, and we're going to have to, no, the first person who writes this following question and put the answer in the chat will get a copy of my book, Take the Ride of Your Life. And of course, I'll send it to you and we'll get your address after. So get your fingers ready. The first one, what did someone do in a meeting that you were at that made it so boring for you? What did the leader do that was so boring? Put it in the chat. No stories. Okay, MH and DT, could you, MH and DT, could you please, oh my God, I'm going to read all of these, but you two are the first two, so I'm going to send 2 books. So Isabel or Andrew, could you make sure you get their information somehow, or I'll ask both of you who are the first 2 to please send your snail mail to Isabel or Andrew. So kept monotone. You said type the question, so it helps to be clear, doesn't it? Okay, so the answer, negative, apologize for everything. Made details more important than the listener. Yes, these are excellent. These are excellent. Thank you. So we have to make sure that it's not you that talk too much. If you've got a monotone voice, you have a monotone voice. The thing is, when you interject all these questions or some of the things we're going to get into, it's going to be, it's going to help you a lot. So when we get to the openers, this is the first one in our template, and we're going to go right down to the next. Thank you. Oh, Isabel, you're doing so great. So openers, I'll tell you right now, there's less tension after you do an opener. And yes, there's tension. It could be from you as the leader, and it could even be as a person who is on the screen. And the good news about openers is that it breaks the occupation from being the preoccupation from being on your cell, from having people so that they are mentally present because, oh, gee, my colleagues are on this call. I better answer this question too. So some of you may say, why do you have fill in the blanks? This is engagement, folks. Engagement is all about having you participate. If you just read my words here, it would just be the same passive kind of training. So informal An informal opener allows others to join in the conversation and stop being on their devices. It makes people feel comfortable. And let me talk to you about that for a second. Because if you think about your own self, when you go on a training, maybe this isn't you, but I find I do this, and sometimes my participants tell me, they say, oh my God, am I going to fit in? Are the people going to know more than I do? So a fun, easy, quick opener just relaxes everybody. So makes people feel comfortable. And this is an important one. It's relevant to the content and not just a filler for the trainer. There's so many openers. And I'm just going to tell you, if you've ever got questions, and I'm going to say this at the end, you can write me an email, and I'll put my email in the chat when you're doing, or actually I'll do this. Yeah, I'll do that a little later. So you'll notice that the words comfortable, devices, content, and conversation are highlighted. You don't have to make the openers hard. Make it easy. It's the point just to say, have them say, hey, this is going to be an okay experience. I'm into this. So 3 common mistakes that speakers and trainers make when they're giving an online presentation. Avoid them like a plague. Jumping into content immediately. That's why easy for you to say, a statistic and a story, they're golden to start. Make sure that the statistic and the story is relevant to the topic. Constantly reviewing material and not revisiting. Revisiting is on the window pane. We're going to spend a little time on that. Revisiting is going back, which we're going to be doing every time I go back to the window pane. Hey, we talked about this, this, and this with the fill in the blanks. Using the close to upsell. This is especially for those of you, if you're entrepreneurs, you're going to hear my closing. Am I going to offer you some free things? Absolutely. But if you think I'm going to use the whole closing to talk about you getting all of my free things, no way. But you and I know we have seen people do that for 10 minutes. Hey, come join my webinar. It's free, or do this. So using the close to upsell and not reflecting on action steps. So when we talk about openers, and I'm going to ask you for your comments in a very short while. So you can, like I said, you could start with a story and statistics like I did. You could, like a lot of people use the chat for them to put where they're from. Why don't we do this right now? What city are you from? Or what country, if you're coming from a different country than in the US? Vancouver, tell us, where else are you from? Wow. Northfield, Minnesota, Lexington, Texas, Chippewa, oh, that's, I don't see any West Bloomfield, Michigan. That's where I'm from. Wow, we're all over. I don't know why I get so excited. Alaska. Oh, I'm going to actually tell a little story about Alaska in a little while. This is great. Thank you. Well, I'm going to tell you, some presenters don't ever do that. They don't use this portion of the chat. New Jersey, love this. Because they said people are tired of it. It's up to you. If you're, I'm personally not. Look at how much fun this was to see. But you use the chat to find out where they're from, or what do you hope to learn today? Oh, my granddaughter's right there at college in New Orleans. How else? I'm going to ask you now to either, if you've got a, if you could put your hand up, if you have an idea how you have used the chat in a creative way, besides having, them, ask a question. If you have an idea besides some of the things that I just did, please, raise your hand and let us unmute yourself and let us know. And if there's no discussion, there's no discussion. Anybody here use the chat in a creative way? I'm going to count to 3. Okay. So I guess the
I
chat.
see a raised hand from Cody.
Oh, Cody, thank you. Please unmute yourself and share.
Hey, so we just started some things with our local chamber, moving everything to virtually, but we play games kind of in the chat box. And we find that to be really interesting. It helps them engage with each other with kind of businesses, things like that. One of the things that we've used, because I've kind of stole it off Facebook, but it's describe what you do in the worst way possible without saying what you do. And so that really gets a lot of, kind of conversation going, humor, things along those lines.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. And when you say games, what kind? Just quickly, can you tell us one? Because I'm always so into this.
So that was pretty much the only one that we've used. I've had some recommendations for some others.
Okay.
But that one right there, it's just, kind of just fun, nothing, obviously we use the contact information, put your contact information in the chat box, but
Sure.
Yeah, that's just been it.
Yeah, but that's great. Just been it. It's wonderful. It's a thank you for that, because I just learned something new from you. You want to take over?
No.
Here are my notes. Here are my notes. You can actually, you see my notes. That's awesome. So the chat, yeah, use it. It's fun. All the time, it's like PowerPoint. If you're always using it, it's like I just broke it up. If you got a question or if you got a comment, please raise your hand. I'll call you. That's good. And the chat is great too. And an opener, I'm not going to use breakout rooms because I could see that we've got some great involvement in this group. Thank you for being engaging. It's really fun for me to do this program when everyone's camera's on, nobody answers questions, no one uses the chat. I'm having fun, and I hope you are too. So breakout rooms are great for an opener. Make sure you're clear. Make sure everybody knows they have a minute to talk, and there's a timer. And one of the funny, and usually for an opener, it's like what you just said, we're talking about the chat room. Make it fun. Lately I've been saying, what can the instructor do to guarantee that she or he will fail at an online class? And I did this in a breakout room, and people had so much fun, because it's so much fun to blame someone else than to take any responsibility for all the boring stuff we do, right? So then we come back and we have a great discussion. So that the breakout rooms is a really good place for an opener. So before we go to revisitors, this is a time, are there any questions? If so, on openers, only on openers, if you don't mind, because we're going to get to the others. Any questions? If so, raise your hand, and either Andrew or Isabel will see, and you're going to mute. Cool. When and if you do, just raise your hand, and you will not be interrupting, because this is called engagement. Hopefully that's a deal. So now, as we go down, and you'll see our friendly little window pane here again. So this time, we talked about openers. Never be what? Everybody unmute and say, never be.
Boring.
Boring.
Boring. Thank you.
Boring.
Thank you.
Long-winded.
Long-winded. Uh-oh, is somebody saying something about me? No, I take total responsibility. Okay, openers, never be boring / long-winded. Now we get to the revisitors. Revisit, better retention, and don't review. Review is the fill in the word. So we talked about openers, never be boring. Now revisit, better retention, and don't review. So let's go right to the notes now on revisitors. So we still have fill in the blanks, because I still want you to be engaged. And revisiting increases retention and application. Revisiting increases retention and application. What gets used at the job is more important than our programs. So whether you participate, whether you don't, the most important thing for me is that when you go back to your team or you go back to your company and you use some of these tools, more important what happens after, and that's all revisiting. Because when people feel comfortable with material and they'll remember it, they're going to share it more. So fill in the blanks helps with the transfer of learning. That's why we do fill in the blanks. It helps with the transfer of learning. It's all about involvement, reflection time, and action ideas. It's all about involvement, reflection time, and action ideas. Revisiting is active, like I've said. Revisiting is active, and I'm repeating just so if you want to write them down, obviously, because the participants reflect and write things down while reviewing is passive. It's recording and recalling. Our brain likes that. So if you decide to do a fill in the blank like this, make sure that you put the words on the bottom. The point is to make it easy, unless you know your topic it's more challenging, or you want people to think on a different level, then don't make it easy. So as we could go down on this page a little more, you'll see if you could say this, you don't have to unmute, just say this out loud. Transfer of learning, I'll say it again, transfer of learning is about involvement, reflection time, and action plans. So it doesn't need to be long, doesn't have to do it tons of time, just to bring people in focus just a few times during your meeting. Using the window pane is extremely, not just important, it's going to help you because it helps you stay on focus, which is so cool. So doodle, a revisit. A doodle is a great idea. And I'm actually going to have those brave souls that want to draw a doodle, and I'm going to shut up for 30 seconds after I explain. Draw a doodle of an important concept that you heard so far, either about openers, about those 5 rules, about revisiting. Just draw some kind of doodle. I'm going to stop talking for 30 seconds. Now, even though you still may be drawing your doodle, if there are 1 or 2 of you that are willing to show it to us, and trust me, I'm not going to have all of you do it. That would be great. If there are a couple of you, you don't have to be an artist, just because this is a form of revisiting, isn't it? Because you're going over. So who here would like to share their doodle? If anybody is brave enough. If so, raise your hand, they'll see you and you can unmute and you can show it. I should say, is there anybody brave enough to do this? And if not, this is a perfect thing to do in a breakout room. And if everyone didn't do a doodle, who cares? The point is, even if 1 person did a doodle in a breakout room, that's a form of revisiting. So cool. So as we go on, if you feel like sharing it later, just say, Joyce, I really want to.
Joyce, I see a raised hand from Dagmar.
Okay.
And
So I don't know how to actually draw on what we're looking at, but I can share that speaking about never be boring or long-winded, I just doodled a stick person with a huge smiley face and big hands waving.
Excuse me as I give you a standing ovation. I'm short, so sorry. That's awesome. That is definitely a deal. Thank you. Yeah, Mara, it's awesome. Thank you. You get a book. So I want you get a copy of my book. So please send your email to Isabel or Andrew. Okay.
Oh, thank you so very much.
Well,
that's wonderful.
You participate, you get, what can I tell you? This is what happens. And somebody else.
It's exciting.
Well, it's exciting for me when I have people talk. Then I don't have to. So Andrew, you said there was someone else. Did someone else have a question?
They lowered their hand, but anyone else, feel free to raise your hand and share your doodle.
Yeah.
So I'm Jackie. Mine was pretty simple. It was just, well, it's kind of hard to see. Mine was at 3:40 or 3:59. It's all pretty straight conversation. And then at 4, it gets crazy and everyone gets up and just participates.
Oh my gosh. I love, this is a good fantasy for you. Jackie, I know you're muted, but I just have to say, put that up in front of you. You're next down line, because that's exactly 1 minute after you start talking, they're energized. That's what you want. You don't want to put the other. Well, thank you. You get a book.
No, it's
too,
great.
Jackie.
I think too, because depending on some of how, like some of our programs that we've done, it's very structured. Like at this time, we're going to do this and this time we're going to do that. And we've been doing this since, gosh, June. So all of our virtual is going through June of this year, and hopefully we'll be in person. But this type of kind of shake up to get people excited to talk to, I think is really a great way to do it.
Great. Well, Jackie, you get a book, so make sure you give your information to them.
Thank you. You're like Oprah. I love that.
Well, I don't have a car, but it's all about bikes. It's about bicycles, so it's not a car.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So let's go now to our window pane. What a surprise. So we talked about openers, never be boring, revisitors, better retention, and don't review. Energizers. This is where everybody usually says, oh my God, I can't wait for her to say what we have to do every 4 minutes. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to look at the watch. I could be on, or the clock. This is called a watch. That's a clock. I am going to make sure that I don't talk for 5 hours on this topic, because we could have, oh my God, I've got such a collection. Energizers every 4 weeks. So as we go to the handouts on energizers, write down, yes, ma'am. You notice, wow, no fill in the blanks, because by now, if you don't have people engaged, it ain't gonna happen. So you now have the regular sentences. So controlled stretch breaks. I just did this class for the Michigan Lean Consortium, and they love this next idea. You have your people, have the participants either go to another room or the room or their desk, pick up something, an object that reminds you of the training. So, for example, if I did it, I'm just going to do it for the sake of time. I said Kleenex, because at the end, we're going to clean everything up, and it's going to be the best closers, and you're going to have people feel great about leaving. So this was mine. I'm sure you could have something that's a little more exciting than that. So again, how does it relate to the topic? And what's so cool about this Energizer is that when you have international, like we do here too, when we have international participants, you get all kinds of crazy objects. So the next one, if I was able to see you and it was more where I saw everybody and not my handouts, I would, if somebody participated, I'd say, okay, Andrew, you just said something. Would you please pick who's going to go next? Now, this Energizer keeps everybody on their toes, because Oh no, maybe I'm next. I better look like I'm getting engaged. I'm serious. There's one thing, it really does help. Ask a question and ask them to stand up when they have the answers, if they can stand up. So the important thing for that, and I'm going to actually have, if you feel like it, because, you know, we've been sitting, if you want to stand up, and this, you're just going to look at my scarf. I don't care, but the whole point is this stuff works. If you have them stand up, and you can even stand up if you've got a back situation for a minute and just stretch a little. And that's, believe it or not, that's an energizer. Remember, every 4 minutes, you have to think of something. And when I'm done with energizers, I'm going to show you a sheet of paper in your handouts with the plan that I created just for this class. So a doodle is another one. Of course, we just did that. Share in the breakout room. It could be two opposing opinions. Come back and tell us how that went. It could be describing your video. That's all I do is videos these days. Your doodle. What do we have in common? There's all kinds of great things that you can do. Matter of fact, is there anybody here? Or you can even write it in the chat. How have you used, what kind of questions have you used in the breakout rooms? Anybody? If you want to add, I'll stop talking and drink my tea for 30 more seconds. How you've used the breakout rooms. What kind of questions you've asked.
Hi, I see another raised hand from Cody.
Cody.
Well, we're getting ready to move our all of our coffee conversations online, and so our plan is to create, somebody come in and do a, like that question, the burning question that they're struggling with, and then to do a breakout room to discuss how each one of these, you know, groups would rectify that issue. So one of the bigger ones that we had come in was about marketing. You know, I have a problem being, you know, showing up online. So cool. Instead of me answering that or a presenter answering that, break those up, have them go into rooms and work together to come up with it. I think that's just that the reason why I believe that that's going to be important is because it helps them engage as a group, network and connect, and then work through a problem that they maybe also be having, or if they run into it in the future, they will have the answer for that too.
Oh God, another standing, you know, it's good. I like getting up. Another standing ovation, Cody. Thank you. Excellent ideas. And we got some great things in the chat. Let's see. Ask what you hope to take away from today. Funny things, where are you from? New messages. What have you done for our leadership projects? Favorite TV shows? Favorite food? Oh, if Barbara Bieran is still on here, she's my coach who helps me with my family nutrition. Favorite band? These are all icebreakers. Ask what you hope to take away from the presentation. What is a skill you've learned? Oh my God, these are so good. Find an object that reminds you of hope. Self-care. Oh, these are, excuse me, these are phenomenal. Oh, by the way, a friend of mine just said last night, self-care is the new chocolate. I heard that and I said, that is a book. You've got to write it. So self-care, yeah, these are great. Thank you, thank you. So yes, the breakout room. The thing is, breakout rooms, I could give a whole series on what not to do to get people engaged. Breakout rooms are also overused. Sometimes the trainers just say, oh, good, 10 minutes and I could do something else. People, if you don't give good directions, and the people, there's always somebody who talks too much in the breakout room. We've all experienced that. So you've got to have a timer. So breakout rooms can backfire. They have backfired on me many times. And I do my best not to have this go forward because it's up to you. It's up to me to give really good directions. So an energizer is deflect, and an energizer, I thought wine is the new chocolate. Oh my gosh. I'm going to be writing lots of new stories. This is a very creative group, Isabel and Andrew. So another one, you see, it's called Two Truths and One Lie. I just did this on my membership. I have a membership when people graduate from my online class. And I said, okay, I'm going to tell you 2 truths and I'm going to tell you a lie. You have to tell me which one it is. So get ready. I'm going to tell you 2 things about me that are true. The lie, when I'm done, I want you to put in the chat room which one you think is the lie. Okay. I walked on hot coals with Tony Robbins. My husband and I were chased by a bear on a hike in Alaska. 3,000 people walked out of one of my trainings. I gave you 3 statements about me. Which one is a lie? Okay, chased by a bear, hot coals. That bear, hot coals, 3,000 people. Hot coals. Okay, 3,000 people. Oh my God. Such a support group I have. You don't think that people would walk away from me, huh? This is great. Well, bear, and I'd love to find out. Would one of you just quickly, because we're gonna I still have a lot till 2:50. If you don't mind, I'm just curious. If one of you who said something, why do you think it was a lie? And then I'll tell you which one. I'm just curious. If you want to, if you don't, we don't have to. Is there anybody here said why you made your decision? Hot coals hurt. WJ, you hesitated in mid-statement. I can see you walking on hot coals every morning. Oh my God. Most people chased by a bear don't live to tell about it. 3,000 people would not have walked out without a fire alarm. Okay, I've got to calm down. These are so crazy good. So let me tell you, the lie was that I was chased by a bear. I did walk on coals at the beginning of my career with Tony Robbins. And no, I didn't get burnt because you had to listen to his directions. Yes, 3,000 people walked out of one of my classes. And that's right after I became a certified speaking professional. And I thought it was there. I thought I was the best speaker in the world. And I acted like it. Humility became my middle name after that. It was one of the best things, even though I wanted to quit. So thank you for guessing. But you see how much fun you can do if you've got a small group. Everybody go around. And you could start looking at each other's body language. The couple people that said, you hesitated on one of them, that could be a lie. Or it could be that I was trying to be clever and make you think it's a lie. So that's one. Book titles. Isabel, are you ready to do this one?
I am. I'm just going to pull up that
It takes
PowerPoint.
a minute. So let me, while my wonderful Isabel is doing the see, this is a PowerPoint, but it's only one, folks. So don't call me that I am using PowerPoint, but it's for energizers. So this exercise is called Read It or Shred It. And I'm going to give you different book titles. And in the chat, you're going to tell me when I read a book title, if it's a read it, that means it's a true book title. Or if it's a shred it, that means I made it up. So, so there's read it and shred it. So the first title is Change Direction with Your, okay, don't put it on yet. Yeah, there. Thanks. I had to explain this better to Isabel. Sorry, Isabel. It's all about directions, folks. And let me tell you something. Is there anybody here who's ever made a mistake online when you're training? I have this eraser. The good news about having humility as my middle name is you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make so many of them. And instead of beating yourselves up, Good. Glad you love the eraser. You got to go with the flow. So change direction with your tension. Is it real? Is it read it or shred it? Okay, we have yeses. We have read it. Yes. Okay, that is a made up one. I made it up. Now the next one, how to raise your IQ by eating gifted children. Is that true or not? Is it a read it or shred it? How to raise your IQ by eating gifted children. Shred, shred. Okay, shred. Isabel, could you please do the next slide? It's a true story, not mine. It's a real book. So there. The next one. So a lot of you had it and some of you didn't. Communicate to stimulate. Change at work and home. Read it or shred it. Read it. Okay. Hope it's shred. Well, it is a pretend one. And by the way, and part of this is that rhymes.com, if you like this idea, rhymezone.com. You put in an idea, like I said, for communicate to stimulate change at work and home, it comes up with a rhyme. And these books pertain to my conflict program. So that's why, you know, you do your books to contain to you. The next one, The Little Book of Stress. Calm is for wimps. Get real, get stressed. Is it a read it or shred it? Okay, read. Okay. Would you please show us, Isabel? And there you go. There you go. And actually, just because of time, could you go through the others? Because I thought, you can, Isabel, you can go through. I'll just wait. Why zebras don't get ulcers? Isn't that hysterical? I thought it was. So that was one of them. Go to the next. How to live with an idiot. Clueless creatures and the people who love them. And I don't know, is there another one? Let's see. Yeah, people I want to punch in the throat. So those are some of the, yeah, and rhymezone.com. So that's what that place is, rhymezone.com. So book titles is a wonderful exercise for you to do. It just it took us maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, it took some time, but it's energizing. So book of names, wheel of names. You may use this already. This is another engagement. I don't know, Isabel, I'm making you work. Can you put the wheel of names out? And some of you may have already used this. We couldn't use it today because there's so many of you. But if you have a smaller group, you go to wheel of names. You just go wheelofnames.com and up comes this cool wheel. And we're going to see it when it comes up on the screen. Oh, you use it all the time. I love you. I love that, ST. So as that wheel of names may or may not be coming on the screen, it doesn't matter. At least you know where to go.
Decided it wanted to be a little difficult.
Well then, hello. So this is, and then what you do is you put on your names. It's free. You put on all the names on the left. And then you spin in the middle, and it's great for a raffle. So it's just an idea. If you've never used it, I love it. Some of you are already saying in the chat how you used it. Now this next one, thank you, Isabel, you can take it off. The next one is called Hot Seats, and I should actually rename it. But one of you said that you use this in the breakout rooms, and then somebody comes up with a situation, and then they talk about it, then they talk about it in a large group. Well, when it comes to hot seats, especially in some of the topics that you speak about and teach, is that you let people know ahead of time. We're going to have time for hot seats. Don't let the name scare you. That means any of you who has a question about a case scenario, a burning question, you get to be the center of our attention for like 10 minutes, something like that. I'm standing just because I'm standing. Okay, So, and you can do this too if you're in the middle of it. So then the last one, it's the puzzles. If you can go down a little bit, Isabel, on that page. Yes, this is a puzzle that, oh, I just love this. I just love this company. It's called the wordsearch.com/puzzle. And all of the words on the right have everything to do with my class and Kick Conflict to the Curb. So you can do your own on whatever topic it is. So some of them, we call them spotlights. That's awesome. I like that better. Yes, spotlights. Thank you. This chat is so engaging. So some ideas for a very important part is the next sheet. Oh, so these are the energizers, and there's so many things that you can do with energizers. So when we talked about the openers, the revisitors, and the energizers. We're taking a break from those because this is what I promised you, and it's in your handouts. So this is actually, if you can go right to the top, this is how I created our time together for a 1-hour engagement. First of all, I had you stand up. Remember I said every four minutes. So I had you stand up if you like the idea. Then I said, write a lesson. When I told a story, I didn't use any polls, but when you use a poll, that's an energizer. The window pane when I talked about the agenda, then the window pane when I talked about openizer. And then we talked about reflectors and how you're gonna use the openers. Then I went back to the window pane when we talked about revisitors. And then we didn't do a breakout room, but if you do a breakout room, we did do the doodle and share in the large group. Then we went back to the window pane to energizers. And then the activity was the books. Hopefully you could do a reflection time. And I like the spotlights that I'm gonna be copying you because I like that better. And then we did the books, the hot seat, always write in the chat. This is a piece that you may really, for the real serious topics, you have an hour, you're very organized. 40 minutes in a 1-hour presentation is when you have questions and answers. I didn't do that because we're having questions and answers this entire time. And then after questions and answers, if you go to the last part on that page, you will see that we do then the window pane, the best idea, the action plan, a great closing, which is celebrating, which we're going to get to now. So if we go down a little bit. So that is what you can do. You can take a plain piece of paper and write on the left all the energizers and all the 4-minute, doesn't have to be energized, 4-minute activities, what you're going to do, boom. In 30 minutes, you're going to have your presentation instead of hours. So we talked about openers, never be boring. Revisitors, better retention, and don't review. Energizers, every 4 minutes. Closers, action plan, and give a celebration. So the closer, we better be on closure. I can't believe it's already been an hour. So now we go to closers. I'm telling you right now, many people miss this. They don't do it. They didn't think about it. These closers, it's not just thank you very much and I hope you got something and thank you, Institute. No. A powerful close allows for celebration. It allows for action planning. Participants need to leave being impressed with themselves, excited about what they are learned and what they're going to do. They need to feel more confident than they did. The content is complete. We now, as the presenter, we have to tie it all together. You got to ask what is the most important concept you're going to use and how you're going to use it. And I may do that at the end, if there's time, because I know I need to give you 5 minutes to conclude on your side too, Andrew. Now, hey, U.S. Chamber of Commerce professionals and nonprofit professionals, I have a challenge for you. And if you could go down a little bit on the paper. Yes, here's your challenge. If you send me an email today or tomorrow, or even up to Friday, Joyce at joyceweiss.com, on your biggest takeaway and how you're going to use it, I'm going to send you a brand new video. I just recorded it last night, and it's all about props. And I didn't even cover props because I knew I wanted to get to this stuff. So if all you have to do, send me an email, what you learned, what you're going to do, you're going to get, and I think it's only 4 to 5 minutes, so it's not like a 7-hour training. So I believe I have, how long do I have, Andrew or Isabel, before you take over?
You have as long as you'd like, but we're scheduled until 2:15.
Okay, so thank you. Doesn't he have a great voice? They both do. So this is the time, if you have any questions, and then I'm going to give you a close and tell you how you can reach me too, if you've got some other questions that you'd like to ask. So first of all, this is the time. Do you have any questions or comments for, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes? That would be great. If not, trust me, I've got more to say. So who has questions, comments? That you can raise your hand and unmute yourself.
We have a raised hand from Jill, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hi, so my question is on your word searches. So often we don't use paper anymore. We just have people look at handouts on the screen or on their devices. How do you use your the word search puzzles?
And that's such a great question, because normally I have it huge on its own slide. And when people come in,
Okay.
I say, we're going to start in 5 minutes. I just do that instead of, that 5-minute awkward silence when people
Sure.
come in. And so that's how I do it.
Okay,
Have
great.
them do it. Yeah, thank you for that, Jill. Great question. Anybody else have a question or comment?
I see a couple questions in the chat. The first one's from Kim, and they ask, has anyone used any creative software for Energizers?
Great question. Does anybody have any answers for Kim? Because I'm going to get into these too, because I know they're out there. I can't tell you any. Anybody else here? Mentimeter. Ooh. Okay, JM, could you unmute yourself and tell us what that is, please, for those that don't know that?
It's Jill again. So Mentimeter is software. What I use it mostly for is to build a real-time word cloud. So you could ask all of us today, how do you feel about this training, or what's your best experience in an icebreaker, and we all can put a word in, or 2 or 3 words, and it builds a word cloud.
Oh, Jill, thank you. I absolutely love that. I've heard about it and I've never used it, and I'm going to go on it right after we get off. So you know where I'm going to be. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mentimeter.
Joyce,
Jill,
I just saw another question from someone asking about breakout rooms. Can you speak about what you've seen that works well or doesn't work well?
Oh, I love this. Yes. What doesn't work well, and I've already said this, but I'm going to say it again, is when we don't know how long it's going to be, when the instructor, trainer doesn't say you all have 1 minute or 2. It depends on how long you want the breakout room. And then you have to have a timer. Make sure that everyone in their small group in the breakout room, there's one timer. And the timer is usually, I always say, the person with the shortest hair or longer hair, and all they do is sit on their phones, obviously, a little timer. So those are the things that I see. And then you can't do anything about people who talk too much, except when the timer says it's time. Hopefully the timer is strong enough to say, thank you, Isabel. It would never be you. I'm just picking on you. Thank you, Isabel. Great. Your time is up. Let's go to blah, blah. So I think those are the biggest mistakes that I've seen. Hopefully, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Okay, you're fine. And I need to let every single person here know. There's a few, let me first tell you what I would love in a perfect world is to connect with every single one of you on LinkedIn. I don't have your names. You've got mine, Joyce Weiss. Please connect with me. And the reason why, I'm not begging, it sounded like a beg. Please, please beg with me. If you connect with me and you search, I have so many videos about engaging meetings. And I have a new series that's gone on this week all about, not props, because that's the one I'm going to send you for those of you that are taking up the challenge. So that's number one. I'd love to link up with you. Then if you go to joyceweiss.com, you can sign up for my blog. Every single Tuesday, 3 o'clock Eastern, you get a very short, I repeat, short, either article or video on either dealing with conflict, communication, that's my normal topic. And I've been doing a lot on engagement because my clients are liking what I'm doing with them. And then the last, second from last, if you go to Kick Conflict to the Curb, and it's actually in my bio, in your handouts, Kick Conflict to the Curb, you can get your free assessment that's going to measure your success and how it impacts your work. It's really a cool thing to do. So if you want that, and obviously if you want to reach me, you've got my email if you'd like me to do this program or anything else. And mainly that email is for you as I come close into the camera. If you have a question and you didn't want to ask it for whatever reason, send it to me at joyce@joyceweiss.com. I love connecting with people. Why do you think I've been doing this for 720 years? So as we come full circle, this is the closing. I want you to pay attention to it. In the beginning, I talked to you about a fantasy with a little, I didn't use the magic wand, but I asked you to please close your eyes, envision your next program, and people are really intent. They're listening to you. They're taking notes. Forget the fantasy. You don't need this. Bye-bye. You now have so many tools that before your presentation, instead, and I hope you are a little nervous. I always get a little nervous, especially online, because you never know whose dog is going to be barking, what internet is not going to be working. But when we do this, I'm telling you, it's so helpful. It's so helpful. So you know how you got all these tools and you don't have to close your eyes, but I want you to envision the next time you give your presentation and how excited you are because you have that list of how to plan, if you liked it, how to plan your presentation, and people are excited. And then when the time is over, you say to yourself, oh, that was fun, even though it could be serious. So I just pulled you all back together in our closing, and I want to give a big hand. Okay, so I lied. I am using a prop. I am a big hand to Isabel, to Andrew, and to everybody at Institute for bringing me back, because I love the face-to-face training at IOM. I love this. I love this just as much. So thanks for bringing me here. It's been an honor. All of you, This was my first time on Teams. I'll tell you, I was a nervous wreck. I thought there was going to be no engagement. Change of mindset, Joyce. No more nervous wreck. You guys are great. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the engagement.
Joyce, thank you so much for doing this webinar. I found it really valuable. One of the things that stuck with me is that the transfer of learning is about involvement, reflection, time, and action plans, and that's really going to stick with me. So thank you for sharing that. I also just want to thank the chat for being so active. We really appreciate your participation. That always makes this so much easier and more involved. I'd like to remind everyone to check out Joyce's website, joyceweiss.com. Check out all the resources that she has there, or if she can lead a program for you and your organization. If you were awarded a book today, we do have a copy of the chat. We're going to try and catch everyone, but if you did receive that book from Joyce, we'd like to have you email us at iom@uschamber.com just so we can make sure we can get you that collateral. We do have another webinar coming up later this month that is yet to be announced, but we will share details about that when it's become available. We also have a special social media post and email going out tomorrow about these neat challenge coins. They are our centennial fundraiser, and we are sending out information about that tomorrow. I want to thank everyone for joining. Joyce, thank you so much for your time and sharing all these great tips with us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.